Hi, all. I'm Jamie Cudden. I lead the Smart City programme in Dublin City Council. I'm delighted to be here today to host this webinar. Hope you enjoyed the video, give you a kind of a flavour of some of the innovations and services that are being delivered via drones. We're really excited to be here today with a fantastic, fantastic group of speakers, panelists, and really, what we're trying to do in this program is look at, a new and emerging technology like drones, and look at how it can transform services, increase efficiencies and deliver better outcomes for our citizens. So we're really excited, I suppose, to have so many people attending the session today, but we're also, going to hear, I suppose, a little bit about what's happening in the drone space. We're going to hear from people like Tim McCarthy, like Bobby Healy, who are, absolutely leading the way internationally in how he's using drones and implementing drone technologies in Ireland. But also we're going to talk about how we're going to, I suppose, develop a program over the next 9 months that can really help scale the potential of drones across local government in Ireland. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to our Chief Executive, Owen Keegan in Dublin City Council, to just open up the session. So Owen, if you can turn on your video and mic and just say a few words. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jamie. Listen, good morning, folks. You're all very welcome to this morning's webinar on the use of drones in the local government sector. I particularly want to welcome and thank our distinguished speakers. We've Laura from the Department of Public Expenditure Reform, Diarmuid from the Aviation Authority, Bobby from Manna, and Tim from Maynooth University. We really appreciate your participation and your assistance with this project. This webinar has attracted very significant interest with over 400 people registered. And I think that's a testament to the enthusiasm in the sector to exploring how we can use this technology to deliver better and more efficient local authority services. The opening video, I think, that we watched showcased some of the applications, and I'm sure there are very many more. So the use of drones in the City Council to date, it's been driven, I think, by a small number of individual staff members with a particular interest in this area, and great credit is due to these staff members. I suspect the same applies in other local authorities. However, certainly speaking for the City Council, we have realised that if we're to exploit the full potential of drone technology, we can't really rely on just a few committed individuals. Just that won't suffice. So we need to develop a set of corporate policies to ensure that the use of drone technology is kind of rolled out in a consistent manner across the organisation, with appropriate compliance safeguards, etc. So the whole aim of this project, of which this webinar is part, is to explore the opportunities for the use of drone technology, while also considering some of the key challenges we need to overcome. The work programme covers a range of topics, including international best practice, compliance, health and safety, public trust, knowledge sharing. Critically, the project will be delivered collaboratively with the support and expertise of some of today's speakers, and I hope with the support of many of you who are actually in the audience. The project outputs will of course be shared across the local government sector. This is just one of a number of, I suppose, innovation projects that are underway in the City Council, involving new technologies, new processes and new ways of working. Part of the drive in the City Council and in other local authorities to transform the way we work. So finally, I want to thank the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform in particular for the support for this project, which is being funded under the Public Sector Innovation Fund. I also want to thank Jamie Cudden and his team in Smart Dublin for leading on the project. We have a fairly busy agenda, so I'm going to hand back to Jamie. I hope you enjoy and benefit from today's webinar. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks very much, Owen. That's really a great introduction and really sets the scene, I suppose, for today. And even on the video, I suppose a lot of people were inspired. You might have seen the St. Patrick's Day drone display. I mean, that really just inspired a lot of people in terms of, well, what could be possible and how this technology has evolved so much that things like this can actually happen. 500 drones in situ delivering that type of outcome is pretty phenomenal. So, when we were looking back about 6 months ago, looking at the type of activities that were happening across Dublin City Council, it was an opportunity, I suppose, to think about how could we better coordinate, as Owen mentioned, but also with Deeper and the Innovation Fund, we came up with this idea, well, what if we started bringing together the likes of the IEA, the LGMA, local government management system, and a whole kind of range of different collaborators to see, could we work together to really help, I suppose, bring together and support this opportunity. So I'm delighted to introduce Laura Mahoney, who is leading public service reform in DEPR. And I've been working with Laura over the last couple of years and been really inspired, I suppose, in terms of what they've been trying to achieve and how they've been trying to drive innovation across the public sector. And the Innovation Fund is a great example of that. So Laura, I'll hand over to you to say a few words. And thanks very much for your support on this programme.
No problem. Thanks so much, Jamie, and thank you, Owen. It's a real pleasure to be here today. So my name's Laura Mahoney, and I'm the head of public service reform in the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, and I lead out on the framework which is called Our Public Service. So firstly, my congratulations to everybody involved, the Irish Aviation Authority, local government management, everybody, all the authorities, Dublin authorities involved in Smart Dublin. So where did this come from, this innovation focus? Back in 2018, which is when I joined the department, the OECD had been in and sort of challenged the Irish government to take a more systematic and strategic approach to innovation. And we started with funding and supporting different elements of innovation across the system. And the pilot fund was launched in 2019. And this is our third iteration with a goal of really turning innovative ideas into a reality. It's been immensely competitive. There's some fantastic projects out there, so congratulations to everybody involved here. And if people have referred to, it's really fantastic to see such high levels of collaboration, to see all the references to the scalability and transferability and learnings here. And it's a really important part of our job to encourage people to share the outcomes of their project with others. This addresses a number of very significant challenges head on, including complex regulatory pieces and compliance and health and safety. But it's ultimately its heart, a sort of marriage of innovative tech and the goal of delivering better services. We've built on the fund in recent times, launching our public service innovation strategy just last November, with the vision of harnessing the power of innovation to deliver a world-class public service. And the pillars of that project, the 4 pillars, are very much reflected here in the project we're looking at today, which is about citizen-centric delivery of services for people, the culture of innovation, empowering and enabling your staff to support the delivery of those services, scaling up, which is about working collaboratively, and transformative innovation, absolutely here, pioneering experimentation and testing new technologies. The strategy itself was developed collaboratively by public services, importantly including the local government and local government management agency, and they've really helped us develop and shape that strategy to help shape our future. So I would encourage you to look at the document. It really is has some genuine and we hope practical templates and guidance and tools which are published with the strategy to assist you in your own organisations in driving that culture, aligning it with your own strategy documents and visions, or helping you develop your own initiatives in the priorities that matter to you in your sector. Other projects that we funded this year in 2021 include, as a number of them referenced actually in the opening video, the remote operated vehicles in fire services. Cork are picking this up now. The smart inspection of buildings, and the National Building Control Office are also picking this up. Cargo bikes in cargo bike loans through public services, mobile X-ray service throughout HSE nursing homes. So do find out more about all the projects and look at the different partners and colleagues involved. And they're all listed on our website, ops2020.gov.ie. And if you want to find out more about all the other elements of the reform agenda or join any networks, we have open networks to any public servant, and engage in our events, then please just go to the website. So finally, very best of luck. Thank you very much for embracing these new opportunities, and I hope you get a lot out of the event today. Thanks, Jamie.
That's great, Laura. Thanks very much, and thanks again for your support on this. And I think the key word here is collaboration and bringing together the right people to ensure successful delivery of these projects. And really, you know, we can't talk about drones and, you know, how we, I suppose, take advantage of drones and, you know, future technologies like this without really kind of working hand in hand with the Irish Aviation Authority. And we were delighted, I suppose, when we were coming up with the idea for this project, that they were so supportive and so willing to collaborate with us on this. So I'm delighted to introduce Diarmuid Conghaile, who is the, I suppose, is the Aviation Regulator and Chief Executive Officer Designate of the Irish Aviation Authority. So Diarmuid, thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the initiative, and thanks for the invitation to speak. We're very happy to be involved, and my colleague Ger Lawler will be taking part in the panel discussion later on. As you said, I took up the role in January of the state's aviation regulator and the CEO designate of the Irish Aviation Authority. The authority is undergoing a restructuring at the moment. The air navigation service provider will split out into a separate company, and the Commission for Aviation Regulation will merge in with the IAA, and we will be a single aviation regulator for the state, covering safety, security, economic regulation, customer protection, travel trade licensing, and of course, drones. In fact, aviation authorities don't like to use the word drones. We prefer the more formal unmanned aviation systems, or UAS. So you'll often see that reference in the literature. There's big potential for drone use in local government and local services, including fire and disaster management, environmental monitoring, infrastructure inspection, traffic management, and we saw some of the potential in the video, that clip that you showed at the start. Our job as authority is to ensure that public, commercial and private benefits from drones can be facilitated and maximised while ensuring safety and security are protected. And that includes in particular integration of drone traffic into the existing aviation system. We recently undertook a consultation process on proposed changes to the UAS geographical zones in the Dublin area. For example, how high can you fly in different areas in the city, in particular in and around the airport and near critical infrastructure. We had very good responses to that consultation, and we'll be publishing both the responses to consultation and our conclusions in the next few days. Good regulation should be necessary and proportionate. So we're regulating to facilitate activity rather than to stop it. And the regulation of drones is rapidly evolving, with new EU regulations in force and further regulation and implementing rules in the pipeline coming to us over the next couple of years in particular. U-Space is an area of particular importance, which is to say traffic management for drones. The authority has a lot of expertise in this area, including operation, engineering and airspace management. But we're also developing on that base, and we'll shortly be appointing a drones champion to coordinate all our activities in this area and be an important point of contact for the industry and also an advocate for the industry. We also already have available an online automated service for registration and for training, which is available to users 24/7. And that's proving so popular that we're seeing people from other countries throughout Europe use the training service as well, which is very welcome. A couple of final comments. I'd like to congratulate Bobby Healy, who I know is the next speaker, on his recently awarded LUC license, which enables Manna to operate throughout Europe, and also congratulate Manna on the pilot work that they've been doing with the community in Oranmore, which really gives great visibility to the potential of drones. As a very final thought, there's a recently published EASA survey on societal acceptance or societal concerns with regard to unmanned aviation systems. And what we're seeing there, unsurprisingly, I think, is safety and security as the top concerns. Environmental concerns then as the next level of concerns, which is perhaps slightly surprising given how clean drone technology is and can be, and the contribution that it can make to environmental monitoring. And then privacy and noise concerns also feature, but noticeably less prominently than safety and security. So these are the concerns that we have to manage as we implement in order to win societal acceptance for this great transformative technology. Thanks again for the invitation, and we look forward to the remainder of the webinar and also to continuing to work with you over the course of the coming months and years.
That's great, Diarmuid. Thanks very much for your support. We really appreciate it, and I think you've touched on how this technology can transform services, but there's also this huge economic opportunity as well for Ireland if we get it right. And I'm delighted to I'm delighted that we have Bobby Healy here. You've got some compliments already, Bobby, so that's always nice start when you're on a webinar like this. But a lot of us, if anyone who's had an interest in drones or this type of technology the last couple of years, I suppose we've all been following your story as a pioneer, not just in Ireland but globally in this space, and it's a real privilege to have you here today. But also you've had your successful fundraise recently. I think I read 25 million as well. So this economic opportunity is huge, but you've probably learned a hell of a lot over the last couple of years, and it'd be great just to get your perspective and say a few words today. So thanks very much for joining us, Bobby.
Thanks, Jamie, and it really is an honor to be here. And I think to echo what Diarmuid just said, this is a gigantic opportunity for Ireland. The whole space is a nascent technology space where investment money is looking for a home. Jobs will be created from that, and any country can take a leadership position. And I think it speaks volumes that the aviation regulator is actually present and engaging in these types of debates, because that is kind of the reason that Manna is able to exist and able to thrive and able to develop what we are developing. This industry or companies like ours couldn't move forward without investment money, because it's an investment case. Nobody's going to make any money in this business for many years, but you can't move forward with the technology unless you have the support of government, of the local population, and of the aviation regulator. I was at a conference last night, which was a USA-based conference, and most of the questions were directed at me around, why Ireland? Why are you in Ireland? Why are you making so much progress? What's the magic dust that you're using? And quite honestly, it's a collaboration. The reason it works in Ireland is not because of the weather, obviously, but because we have a community in Owen, which you'll see behind me there, that want us to be there, that are delighted to be part of it, that are happy to be, I won't say the guinea pigs, but really want to experience what the future could hold. We have a local community of customers, of vendors, the local coffee shops, the local bookshop, all willing and enthusiastic participants in what is now the largest drone delivery project in the world. And that's not because we're brilliant, it's because we have an environment that supports what we're doing. Nobody else in the world is able to do what we're doing, and it's a combination of technology and collaboration of state government, local government, and the local population. So I'm really proud to be here. Me and my team of 60 people now, and between Dublin and Galway, a little bit in Wales, are very proud to be doing what we do. It's the future for sure, and anyone that would go to Oranmore would definitely see what this. So I just share that screen there for the audience. I hope you can all see that, but that's Oranmore. There's just over there's 2,900 individual air codes in Oranmore. We've delivered already to nearly 40% of those homes. So when Diarmuid spoke of public acceptance and concerns, we did our own survey about 6 months ago before we went into Oranmore, and we got about a 98% positive rating as an answer to the question, if we bring drone delivery, would you use it? And 98% of people said yes. And subsequently, after we've been live now for 6 months there, we're delivering pharmacy, we're delivering Tesco, we're delivering coffee, you name it, we're delivering it. And what's interesting about it is, as I said, you can see the take-up rate there. Everybody's using it, and they're not just using it for novelty. they're actually using it for function. So people are ordering. We've had an order for a head of broccoli. We've had an order for a melon, nappy cream, prescription medicine. We've had it all. And coffee is something as frivolous as a coffee. But the point is that these are orders that are happening that would otherwise use a car on the road, probably burning diesel to do that, and very inefficiently. And we now have the local bookshop in Owen has a better product than Amazon have. And when you think about that, that bookshop now can sell books online and can get it to customers in the whole population of Owen in about 3 minutes. And that's kind of what we're building. So we set out to build a technology platform that would really look at changing the world, the suburban world, for the next 10 years. And Ireland and both the technology tools, resources that we have available to us, the regulatory environment under the EASA regulations, that's one thing, but also the environment here, the local council in Owen, literally everybody has supported us. And our plan is world domination, nothing less. We want to be the biggest drone delivery company on the planet. We think we can do that. And we've, I think, Jamie, as you said earlier on, we've raised actually over $35 million now to invest in business, to build the technology here, design the technology here, and ultimately manufacture the aircraft here. And there's a lot between now and success. There's many years actually still to play out before people are going to see drone delivery in Tala or in Finglas or anywhere else for that matter. It's about the whole industry. It's about getting all of the stakeholders, all of the operators, both drone operators, general aviation, regulator, of course, government, and addressing all of the concerns, going hand in hand with communities and government to come up with something that essentially is acceptable to the future for suburban living. And the other part of the survey that we did, actually, we had a slightly different order of what we would say are the concerns around what we do. The number one concern that we've seen has been around noise pollution, just general noise of drones. The second one has been around privacy. Safety and security seem to be a kind of accepted as just being there, and of course it's not the case. It's very, very difficult to make drones safe, and that's why it's going to take quite a lot of time to make the air safe and the ground safe when we run our operation. And that's why regulation coming from an aviation regulator is all about safety. It's ensuring air risk and ground risk is zero. And so it's a very, very unusual business that we're operating. And ultimately, it's going to take a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of pain, and a lot of innovation to get there. But there's literally two companies in the world that are successfully doing what we're doing. One of them is obviously us, and the other one is Alphabet. Google's parent have a drone delivery system called Wing, and that's our competition. So it's Ireland versus the rest of the world. I'm very proud to be here, presenting Owen. I'm also happy to say that we plan to expand in Ireland, our trials in Ireland to show more people what we're about and what we can do. And ultimately, our 3-year plan is to expand. As Diarmuid said, we are delighted to have received a European-wide license for our operations. That's not going to be used overnight, but in time, when we're ready, we will start to expand the operation across Europe first and hopefully the United States later. So delighted to be here and happy to answer questions later on.
That's great, Bobby. Listen, thanks so much for that. And it really, I suppose, emphasizes the economic opportunity. And isn't it great to see Ireland leading the way in this space? I think it's going to be, we're really excited to follow that journey, but we'll have you on for a couple of questions at the end. So we'll hear back from Bobby in a couple of minutes. So next on the panel discussion is Tim McCarthy. So Tim is a principal investigator in Maynooth University, and we've been working with Tim for the last 5 or 6 years. Tim's always about 5 years ahead of the curve when it comes to technology, and has been absolutely a national, international pioneer in the area of drones and looking at the future. So I'm going to hand over to Tim to say a few words and just give his perspective in terms of where he thinks things are going in terms of drones. So thanks very much, Tim, for joining us today.
Thanks, Jamie, and good morning all. Look, we'll jump straight into it. It's well worth just connecting with the last couple of speakers there in terms of engagement and communities, because that's what this is all about. We can't do this on our own as researchers, so we've got to bring in different kind of stakeholders here: the regulators, local government, public bodies, researchers, that's us, tech companies, Bobby's side of the fence, and they all have a role to play, from regulators keeping us on the straight and narrow, local government talking about context and setting the scene, researchers trying out new developments, tech companies doing the innovation and that push, that heavy push that Bobby was talking about. But probably the most important one that is the slippiest to get our arms around are the people. Particularly when it comes to robotics, artificial intelligence, and in this case, drones, and how we kind of merge these with human activities. We need to engage and to talk to and to wrap our arms around the wider kind of people bit. Okay, we'll just jump in here on the research and development. So local government, I guess, there's a couple of things that we can do with drones: data gathering, logistics, specialist services, air taxi. Like specialist services there, you'll have the likes of Mick O'Donnell, the fire brigade, and stuff going on in Dublin, and we can come back and perhaps cover some examples there. Just trying to kind of backdrop this into the European international scene and where we fit. And of course, they come back to the usual kind of 4 or 5 or 6 usual suspects in terms of the UAVs themselves, the drones themselves, the physical infrastructure on the ground, and it's got to do with communications and airspace monitoring that I say bubbles into the airspace systems. And number 3, and business opportunities, those kind of like drivers of demand, if you like. And then all those communities that we spoke about, very, very important. And just as a recent kind of, toe in the pool kind of stuff, again, those same issues around regulatory performance, market business considerations, integration of use space, open information sharing. But just what I'm trying to do here is not to kind of make it complicated, but just to try and cover off at the top what we're actually dealing with when we talk about bringing drones out and making them more useful and usable. Philip Butterworth Hayes might be on the line too here, and they had a recent piece on their unmanned systems, and these are speakers who kind of picked out different things, like Tate from UK, talking about the service delivery model and the will of the people. That people thing is very, very important here, and it has to be brought to the fore. Public acceptance and legal framework. And it's an easy thing to say, public acceptance, but it's a lot harder to kind of work out how you do that. No one has actually fully written the book here. And, balancing those things, corporate and commercial against, public interest and so on. Okay, enough about that. Into U-Flyte. So this is us here, SFI sponsored. We're working with different companies, including Airbus, Manna, and we've got a couple of researchers as people back at the University, Fergus Foyle and Fergus McCarthy, Dara, and the rest of the guys there. Main kind of, areas are in terms of drone operations and applications. And some of our gear, we've got kind of like ground station bits, and we've got an aircraft up there, top left, that we use for some of the BV loss or beyond visual line of sight simulation exercises. We got lots of kind of toys, if you like, in terms of platforms, hybrids, VTOLs, and sensors, optical LiDAR, navigation, radar systems. And we do a lot of kind of, work across various areas. We're not forgetting about the ground-based, because of course, we've got to kind of consider robotics in that kind of wider kind of picture. So these are some of our recent additions in terms of the UGVs there on the right, and the unmanned special vehicle 4-wheel drive up on the left. Hyperspectral here, some of the sensors looking into wavelengths that people can't see. Again, that data gathering piece in terms of what drones can do. GPR, we're looking under the ground now and trying to figure out how can we map out the ground. One of the advantages here is that we can get into hazardous terrain. We can map out a hectare in about 20 minutes. And the Time Teams TV series, well, we can do that kind of thing with a drone, and hopefully a lot kind of more efficiently. Again, in the city, back looking at air quality, how do we keep an eye on that? So SOx and NOx and particulate matter, methane, and so on. And so these are the new sensors coming on stream. And there is kind of a definite kind of trend here in terms of accessibility and affordability with these new sensors. LiDAR systems, again, for recreating, rebuilding our environments, our infrastructure, our built environment to figure out what's going on there. So these are just showing you just some examples of the work we've done. We've worked alongside Alan Hicks, CTO of Manna, and the rest of Bobby's team down in or more, just to take a look at how we can kind of build that digital twin, if you like, of the area that we operate drones in, because you've got to have that kind of human scale information at your fingertips here. Jamie, give me a shot if I'm going to be running over time, by the way. Some of the thermal sensors, and then we hop into an area that's quite important, because it's one thing to have these sensors collecting data, but we must make sense of these data streams. So we bring in AI, machine learning, deep learning to start extracting useful bits of information. And this is some of the work that we're doing with buildings. How do we measure and categorize, classify different roofs? You know, how can we count cars, and looking at complex scenes? And it's basically trying to kind of understand what's going on. That has to be pushed into the sensors, into the robots to give us a hand. We've always got to be mindful about GDPR and privacy. Here we were working on some, I guess, looking at public spaces, how well they perform, making sure the whole time that we're not collecting personal information. And we can do that. And we actually proved that we could do that. And again, new ways of taking kind of those human scale CCTV images and trying to make them useful, but the whole time staying well within guidelines and good principles, and getting those protocols working together with local authorities. That's all about collaboration, because we can't do this stuff on our own. Some of the low airspace monitoring, where we're keeping an eye just to see, you know, how the radar systems pick out drones when they're flying around the place. You'll see some bits there. I'll just keep going. UTM, this is, I guess, looking at the traffic management systems and how we engineer these low altitude airspace and traffic around that. And look, I'll just do a quick video here. Again, Jamie, shout if I'm going over time. So this is some of our work here. And again, what we're looking at is our 8 kg LiDAR on a drone, and it's how we use that then to kind of, you know, survey different urban environments to kind of rebuild this and make sense of it, semantically break it down into what's road, what's building, what's vegetation, what's dangerous, what's less risky. These are important things. And again, moving back into that area of complex scene understanding, we've got to have these systems, because there's, when you send a drone up, it can collect you know, a gigabyte in a matter of like 5-10 minutes. And we can't have humans trying to make sense of those gigabytes and gigabytes and terabytes of data. We have to use computers and AI to give us a hand to figure out what's going on. Again, looking at the, I guess, the whole issue of where you merge drone with people, that's where you can come to grief. But as long as you follow the good lines and good practices, and that's what we can do here too, when we're working with local government, is to try and figure out what works and what's the best way to do it. This is up in Leitrim, and again, Fergal McCarthy and Fergus Foyle were up here last June, called in just to kind of give a hand to map out that bog slide in Drumkieran. And again, it's I know there's a lot of people will have already seen a lot of these kind of images. This is back into infrastructure, where we're looking at picking up power lines and what's going on there. I'll finish out here. Well, this is a nice one too. This is like a bit of a commercial break. It's like I think it's say Holy Island down in Tipperary, and it's just showing the I guess the power of drones. And these sensors are becoming a lot more kind of affordable, accessible, and they have, you know, high I guess like here we can measure different say bits of infrastructure quite accurately. And the price point for these, it's no longer kind of hundreds of thousands. It might be 10,000, 12,000 and so on. And I think I'll just pull it up here, guys, and then I'll just finish, because we've got a lot of bits in here. Just see if I've got it here. Yeah, this is just crisscrossing back with the last speaker, and say Bobby. So this is some of our UTM work here, and it's trying to kind of look at capacity, look at conflict rates. So even before, say, Bobby sets up an operation in a particular place, we'll work together with Bobby's team to try and figure out, you know, how many drones can we get up safely, and, you know, to simulate the different trajectories, making sure that we optimize those trips, we minimize nuisance and all of that. So we've got these different tools at our disposal here. You know what, Jamie, I think I'll leave it at that, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, it's really inspiring, Tim, and just shows you the potential of all the different use cases. And, you know, it's, again, brilliant to see people like yourselves and the U-Flyte project really leading the way internationally in terms of looking at this and looking what the future looks like. So we're delighted, Tim, to be partnering with you and working with you on this project. So thanks again for all your support. So I'm just going to invite the panelists up so we can have a bit of a Q&A. So we've got Veronica, Ger, Bobby and Tim. If you want to just put on your cameras there, that's great. So I suppose we'll start off with Veronica Sissoko, who's an engineer with our Smart City team in Dublin City Council. Veronica, you're responsible for, I suppose, coordinating this and bringing all this work program together from Dublin City Council. How is it from your perspective? Like, what are you starting to see in this space? I mean, it's a really exciting space, but, you know, what's happening on the ground in Dublin City Council?
Thank you for the introduction and for the invite to organize this webinar. So basically, as Jamie mentioned, I'm coordinating some of the drones activities across Dublin City Council service, and it's really, really exciting. We established a drone working group for all our staff. At the moment, we have 44 members across 15 different sections, and those sections varies from the parks, the Dublin Fire Brigades. We also have our survey mapping, National Building Control. They are also part of those. We have some representations from our law department and many other different use cases. And it's really exciting. The engagement is being like amazing and fantastic. That group joined was in July last year, and then from there to now we were just like discussing a little bit of some of the issues and challenges that they face, or some of the topics that they are worried about. And then from those challenges, we identified that we need to do a little bit more work about health and safety, all the privacy, data privacy. We also need to be looking at how we can better engage with the public. As you can see, Tim, Bobby, and Diarmuid, everyone was talking about how we can better communicate with the community to get their support and bring that along to us. And for Dublin City Council, we really see a lot of ways of delivering our service in a more efficient way. So I would say that is so much potential, but at the same time, we just need to be building the blocks for each of those challenges, and then also how we can better explore opportunities, how we can get a little bit of funding, do some pilot projects, and then we can scale up afterwards with the other local authorities. And yes. Thank you.
Super. Thanks, Veronica. And I think one of the things, very positive things about this project, we're working closely with the LGMA, Local Government Management Association, and, you know, it's not just Dublin City Council, but every local authority in Ireland is doing something in the area of drones, and we're seeing some great practice. I think Kildare, Leitrim, Mayo, loads of great stuff. So we want to bring all that together as a sector as well to kind of help everyone move along in this journey. And I think Ger, I mean, so we've got Ger Lawler from the Irish Aviation Authority. I mean, one of the key points of interface is with local government and the Irish Aviation Authority. I mean, what's your feeling in terms of the role between local government and yourselves? I mean, how is that going to evolve? Because there's this bit of space that, you know, everyone's interested in.
I think, look, good morning, everybody, and thanks, Jamie. Look, I think Bobby mentioned it earlier. You know, there is no magic dust. But what we really have, and what we're very good at, is collaboration, communication, and cooperation. And, you know, it takes all of the authorities working together in order to ensure that we maximize the full potential of this new and innovative technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I mean, Tim McCarthy was just presented there. I mean, Tim, you've been following this technology, you know, for the last 10 years. And you know, what do you think? You know, how is it evolving, and, you know, what's likely to happen next? I mean, in your perspective, and what needs to happen from an Ireland perspective?
Yeah, good question. Like, I guess the simple one is that, as we are all aware, I guess technology is racing ahead. Here, it could be said, and it would be interesting to see what the other panelists say, but that the solutions for actually building out the various components to have drones operating safely in urban environments and populated environments is probably there. It just needs to be kind of like a bit more kind of joined up, pieced together, and a bit more testing and integration and so on. So basically that trend will continue. Technologies are constantly evolving. We will see, certainly in our own area, the geospatial data side, a lot more automation coming in there in terms of intelligence generation, and again the price point and accessibility that now, for example, DJI are releasing they've released the P1 and this L1, this new LiDAR system, and I think it's going out. I was talking to Fergal McCarthy, it's gone out at something like 15,000 euro. Like probably 10 years ago, that could have been kind of $250,000. And it's not just that, Jamie, it's all the data processing that goes alongside that. So the short answer, I think, for Ireland is, and it's great to see Bobby mentioned, manufacturing drones and so on, but one obvious kind of place for us would be the drone services and trying to build that up in a more kind of, structured kind of fashion. And it's initiatives like this one that you've kicked off here that can kind of spark that, because as I said, it needs those stakeholders, not just one, a tech company. It needs all those stakeholders to be involved. So this is why this initiative is so important, Jamie.
Absolutely, yeah, no, that's great. And I'm thinking, Bobby, just obviously you're kind of focused on a particular area in terms of drone deliveries, but it must be hard to keep focused because, when you look at Tim's presentation and you look at all the possibilities, you're just like, how I want to do everything. I suppose it's important for you to keep the focus, but obviously the opportunity is huge, Bobby. I mean, as you evolve, there's all sorts of areas that you could spin out into.
Yeah, no, I mean, in the end, we're building a Swiss Army knife, really. I mean, our drone, we use it today for, what many would think is a frivolous, use case, right? Delivering, general goods around. But actually, the plan is to move everything. The plan is to move critical items, blood supply between hospitals, pharmacy, you name it. We plan to move it. So the purpose, though, of what we're doing now is about learning. It's not about building a revenue base or God forbid profitability. It's about learning. And you couldn't imagine a more diverse environment in a suburban community. And and to have that petri dish of learning, understanding, integration with the end customer, all that stuff adds up to a product and a platform that's not just safe but deals with all the situations. And I didn't refer to them, I'm glad Tim did, but we've been working very closely with Tim and his team. And talk about collaboration, they've done a lot of the heavy lifting for us in Oranmore. So all those images you saw that Tim showed were Oranmore, and they help us to understand the environment there. What's a house, what's a road, what's vegetation, all that stuff is important. But in the end, we're building really a Swiss Army knife that we have a very big mission, and it is to remove cars from the road for short range deliveries. Simple as that. So yeah, which obviously will have a big environmental impact in particular. So yeah, no, it's really it's great to see. And I think the bit that's come out really strongly for me today is the collaboration piece. I mean, I think, Bobby, what you've highlighted there is academic, industry, public sector. I mean, local authority. You've kind of bringing everyone together to make this. Yeah. It's very unusual. It's a very unusual space because usually you see something emerge from research and then become commercial and off they go. But this whole industry of what we're doing is, it wouldn't be possible without everybody, leaning into it. And worldwide, literally, we're I would say one of two examples in the world where we're actually moving forward because of that level of collaboration, and it wouldn't work without it. Yeah, no, it's really great to see. I'm seeing loads of questions come through on the Q&A, but we might look at a few. There's one here, just insurance. I mean, is that a challenge? I mean, we're in Ireland, so it always seems to be a challenge. But any thoughts on that? Anyone on the panel? Yeah, man. I mean, when there's a mic, I'll always grab it. For us anyway, insurance is straightforward. There's a number of insurance providers that are happy to insure what we're doing, and there's a number of generalists and a number of drone-specific insurance providers, so that hasn't been an issue.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's always good to hear. And I suppose because that's kind of obviously critical to being able to scale up your operations. But from an Irish Aviation Authority perspective, Ger, I mean, I suppose once you have the right kind of regulation and the right mechanisms in place from safety, obviously that makes it all easier to kind of scale these type of operations.
Yeah, thanks again. Look, I've been dealing, I think we first met Bobby, I think it's a little over 3 years ago when Bobby first came in to meet with us. And like straight away we could see, that this was a serious, a serious contender in this space. We had, what often happens when you get into the high-tech area is that you have what's often referred to as a regulatory lag. Where there are no regulations in place or a lack of regulations. So we were very fortunate in the IA and in Ireland that we recognised this back in, I think, 2014. And we drafted and published national regulation SI 563 back in December of 2015. And in fact, we were the first in the world to have a drone register back then. We beat the US, even though we had been working very closely with the FAA at the time. We launched on the same day as the FAA, but because of the time difference, we were effectively the first in the world to have a drone register. We've also then been very much involved with EASA since then in developing a set of European regulations. They're in place now. There is a bit of a transition period over the next year or 2 years. And like Ireland, we're very much involved in shaping that regulation. It's very similar to what we have in Ireland, which means that the transition, what Bobby has transitioned from the regulations that he was operating under a specific operating permission to what he's doing today, the transition hasn't been, a huge step. And I think that's, that's as a result of us, keeping an eye on the regulatory framework, and not just in Europe, but also looking at what's happening in the wider field, the United States, Canada, Australia. We basically monitor what's happening in the regulatory space all over the world, and that's generally done through a platform called JARIS, the Joint Authorities for the Rulemaking of Unmanned Systems.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great, Jared. I see some other questions come in. Is the weather a pain in the ass? Maybe for
the weather's an absolute nightmare. So we fly an hour more at a maximum wind speed of 10 meters per second, which is 36 kilometers an hour. And we can fly in rain, no problem. The wind is a nightmare for drones because of the energy use. So the drone can handle itself fine, but the energy use is an absolute nightmare. But if we can fly an hour more, we can fly anywhere in the world.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's a good test anyway. So listen, guys, thanks so much for joining the panel today. I think it was a real insightful discussion. And, I think, this isn't just a once-off webinar. We actually have a whole program of work to deliver over the next 9 months. And we'll be working really closely with everyone here and also everyone on the webinar. We have over 400 people registered. We want to kind of, you've all got an interest in drones, in the potential of drones. We want to use this network that we've created as a sounding board. So, if you have any other Q&As, send them in to us. If you have any ideas, if you've got some best practice you want to share with us, and we'll keep convening, events over the next 9 to 12 months to bring together a community of interest. And I think, what I've heard is, the more we can collaborate and the more we can help everyone to kind of take this opportunity with the right tools, I think the bigger the opportunity can be. So I'm just going to thank my panelists, and I also thank all the speakers today. I'm just going to talk a little bit about just our work plan for the next 9 months, and Veronica is leading a lot of this work, so no pressure, Veronica, on this. So I'm just going to share my screen quickly if I can. Just check if everyone can see. Is that everyone can see my slides? Is that up on the screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah, great stuff. So essentially what we've got a couple of work packages on this, and we're looking for feedback and supports. We have, a busy 9 months ahead, but the first area we're looking at is just looking at what's happening internationally, where best practice is, what are the good examples of business models, and where are the emerging trends and opportunities from a local government perspective. So we're looking at two perspectives. One is the services that we deliver in local government, and then the other bit is how we can enable, I suppose, an environment for companies like Bobby's and others to thrive in, to take that economic opportunity. The second area, super important, is the compliance. So, maybe not the most exciting, but super important, looking at, working with the IAA and others, making sure we have the right tools and mechanisms in place. Very much there's a whole engagement piece here. So maybe we'd like to look at just that whole safety and trust piece, build on some of the work IASA and Bobby and others have done, but maybe deliver our own kind of surveys and panels and focus groups on this. Then we want to look at strategic futures. So again, this is working with the likes of Tim and others, looking at, how can we accelerate this innovation opportunity for Ireland, and collectively, how can we work together and look at where the barriers are, where the opportunities are, and catalogue and really move that along. The last bit is just like what we've done today, knowledge sharing. When we have these toolkits, if you're in a local authority and there's not many supports from everything from your data protection to your health and safety, we hope to be able to disseminate this, that it will help you get up and do things quicker and not feel like you're alone or looking for permissions. There's a bit of confidence that you can get going on this. So it would be a lot of emphasis on knowledge sharing, and really just keep in touch with us. We'll follow up with a short survey on the back of this, and there'll be lots of different events and workshops. And hey, Bobby, maybe we'll even get everyone up to Armore to have a look at what you guys are doing.
You're all invited.
Absolutely. And do we get a free coffee as well?
You don't get a free coffee, you have to pay. We have to pay for our insurance.
Yeah, no worries. But listen, guys, thanks so much, everyone, for joining the panel today, for speaking. I'd also like to call out to Deeper for their support on the Innovation Fund, LGMA, Smart Dublin, I suppose our Chief Executive, Owen Keegan, for being so supportive on these type of projects, Diarmuid and Ger in particular from the IAA. I'd also just like to thank my team for helping pull this together. Maynooth, who did an amazing job on the video, and Veronica, you've got the task of pulling all this together. So I wish you the best of luck, and really looking forward to, I suppose, doing something that we think is very exciting and is going to really, help the sector. And it's an accelerated 9-month plan, and it's all going to be built on collaboration. So thanks everyone, and thanks for joining the session.